Welcome all. My name is Douglas Hemphill. I am one of the campus instructional designers. I know this session was listed as being done by Carrie Mocyk, but unfortunately she is out sick, so you are stuck with me. That said, I don't stand on propriety. So if you have any questions while I'm doing this, please just shout them out or post them to the discussion or chat. I will try to keep an eye on that. That said, this session is about giving you an introduction to what the student view in Brightspace looks like. So to start, I am going to try to share my screen. And so hopefully you're all seeing my shared screen, and I am impersonating a student called Lou Grant. And anybody that gets that reference, good for you. So this is the student view. So you'll notice immediately there's a lot of options that are visible for you as the instructor that are not visible for a student. So generally, a student will be able to see any general announcements, and then we'll be able to see their courses based on term. And what we are going to be looking at is Carrie's practice course. So we're going to go into there. So again, for students, it's just a simple click on a button. And then here we see the demo that she has created for us. So you'll see this is the student's landing page. They have a lot of the same options that you do as a faculty member, but the big one that is missing is tools. Based on the pedagogy that we use, we want our students to access everything through the content area. So we don't want them to be able to directly go to the tools which would allow them to directly access things like discussions or assignments. We want to be able to put those in context via the content area before they access that. Now, students have, one other thing. Students do have their announcements here. The latest version of the announcements we're using will show any current announcements, but students do have the ability to go look at any past announcements that have not been specifically hidden by you. And you can hide them via date release or simply by clicking on the hide button. As a student, if I click the X on an announcement, it is dismissed, but it does not disappear. So assuming there's no other restrictions on it, I can always go into show all announcements to see any announcements that I have dismissed. I also have updates that just kind of give me an idea of what's sitting out there. And I have my course calendar that just tells me, hey, here's what's coming up. I do also have a more detailed version of this, so I can use the pull down to go to my detailed calendar, and I can see anything that has something on it will have a blue dot, and I can click on that date and see specifically what that is. Uh, just something to be aware of. A lot of us tend to use due dates that are at 11:59. And depending on the screen resolution you're using, that may require you scrolling down on two different scroll wheels to see. So just something to be aware of. Excuse me. Now back to my homepage as a student, the last thing that students have access to is just the opportunity to download the Pulse mobile app, but we aren't going to be looking into that today. So it's time to dive into our content. And as a student, I can either go in through the content tab at the top, or I can go in through what's called the visual table of contents, which will show every module that I have access to. This is another area where what you see as the faculty member is different from what students see, because you will always see every module here. Students will only see the ones that are currently visible to them. So I'm going to go into my module 1 demo. And the first thing I have is just my overview. This is something that we generally recommend in all of our online classes. Think of it just as you walking into the class and saying, "Hey class, today we're going to be covering the following." And this is just a demonstration of what one of those sort of overview pages might look like. Going from there, students have two ways to navigate. They can continually jump back using these breadcrumbs. So they'd go back to the full list and click on the next option. But much more commonly, our students will use these navigation arrows, which is what I just used. So what we're seeing here now is what Brightspace would call a web page, or a page, or a number of other terms. But basically, this is an area where you create the content. So if I were on the instructor view, I would have an interface to allow me to type in whatever I wanted to say. I've got some options for embedding videos, links, all that stuff. But this is the basic page for Brightspace. Continuing on, the next thing that we have is a discussion. Now, for a student, what they will see is, under normal circumstances, the discussion prompt. So what I need to do in this discussion, and in this case, Carrie has added in a discussion rubric, so I can click that ahead of time, which gives me an outline of what do I actually have to do to get a good grade on this assignment. And that sort of scaffolding is very useful for students. So now I've read the post, I'm ready to make a post. So I simply click on Start a New Thread. I give my subject, which oftentimes in the instructions, we will encourage our students to give a meaningful subject so it's differentiated from other things. So I will simply name this Doug's Perspective. And you'll see, even as a student, I have full use of all of the editing tools here. So I can link external resources. I can embed all sorts of different media. Or I can simply type something out. Now you'll see you also have this check mark at the bottom, subscribe to this thread. What that will do is it will send students a notification anytime anybody responds to the post that they've made. You'll also see a second option for adding attachments here. Usually I would recommend students use one of the embedded options, but if they want to like post something really simple, like here's my paper, please look at it, it might be more appropriate to use the add attachments option down here. And once I'm done, I just click post. and my discussion is now created, and I can go look at it and I can see, well, has anybody replied to it? How many people have looked at it? What's going on? This is only a view of the top level. So if I actually want to read responses or anything like that, even as a student, I will have to go in and actually look at it. And I can also see other posts other people have made. Now you'll notice this post didn't show up initially. That is because this is what's called a post first discussion. So I won't see anything that anybody else has done until I make my first post. So I'm going to scroll up a bit. Now, because I was playing around a bit, I've actually ended up in the discussion list, so don't have those arrows anymore. And I'm actually going to have to go back to content and manually click on the next thing. So that's something else to be aware of. You can sort of get out of the content area into the sub areas if you're clicking around. As long as you're using date controls or access control appropriately, students won't see anything they shouldn't see, like work that you aren't ready to release yet. But it does mean that they may have to go back to content to get back on track. Now, this is an assignment. This is probably the most basic thing that you would ask a student to do in terms of simply uploading some sort of assignment. What the assignment is up to you, but a moderately common one is simply answer questions 1, 3, and 7 from chapter 11 in the textbook. And each of these assignments is individual because this is not set up as a group submission. So as a student, the easiest option for me, in my opinion, is simply to click on upload and go tell it, here's a file that I want to upload. It will upload the file. And if you wish, you can make some comments about that file, but otherwise you simply click submit and it will tell you, hey, you've successfully submitted your file. You will have a confirmation email that is sent to your Oswego email address saying it was submitted. And up here, I can see what I've submitted. So now, because I didn't play around this time, I still have my next option. So I'm still in content. So I'm just going to click next. And this time I've got a quiz. So it's going to tell me what I have to do for my quiz, which is the descriptions. It's going to confirm basically who I am and what the limits on the quiz are. And it's going to give me my basic instructions for the quiz. So all I have to do as a student is start the quiz and answer the questions. Now, one thing to be aware of as the faculty member is that you can make questions mandatory, which is a nice idea in theory, but it also means that if I don't know the answer to a question as a student, it forces me to guess. So just be aware of that limitation. So I've answered all the questions. And it's just asking me, am I sure I want to submit this? I do. Now, what it's going to do is grade me just on the automatically gradable questions, which artificially deflates my score because the question that was the question that was the open answer, so I can type whatever I want in there, is automatically marked as a 0 until you as the faculty member go in and grade it. So you may want to play with your release settings on the quiz grade so that it doesn't actually release feedback until you've had the chance to actually grade their long answer questions. Of course, if you're just using a short answer quiz, which is fully automatically graded, that's not an issue. So I'm just going to back out of that and double check if there's anything else here. So the last thing that Carrie put in here is a checklist. And if you want to use one of these, I would encourage you to talk to an instructional designer. There's a little bit of nuance in setting them up, but basically it will tell a student, yes, you've done everything that you needed to do. And it's also a way of giving due dates on things that otherwise wouldn't be able to have due dates. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to jump into a different student identity. So just give me one sec. Sorry, my connection seems to be running a little bit slow, as seems to always be the case when you're trying to do a presentation. Okay, there we go. So let me reshare my screen. So I'm impersonating a different student, and the reason for this is that this particular student has graded work. So what we saw in the first part was basically the idea of what a student will go through navigating a course and submitting work. Here we're just really quickly going to look at how they review their work once it's graded. So a student is going to go to My Performance and Class Progress. And this is a little counterintuitive because if they go to grades, it really just gives them a very, very basic overview of what they've done. Progress Summary, however, lets them look at each item in detail. So for example, I can use the left menu to jump down to discussions, and I can immediately look at every discussion that I've done, what grade I got, and what my feedback is. And I can do that for everything. So I can also go to assignments. I can look at my detail. I can view my rubric, which I'm not sure you're seeing because it's a pop-up. But that would tell me exactly how my rubric has been graded, and I can see my grades for everything. So generally what you need to take away from this is that when students want to know how they are doing, the way they do that is to go to My Performance Class Progress, not grades. So I believe I am out of time. So are there any final questions?
That was really helpful. Thank you. Especially seeing what the students see when they submit their assignments because every once in a while I get somebody who contacts me and says, I can't tell if my assignment went in when I submitted it. So now I know
Yeah,
what
if
they
they're
should do.
doing it as an attachment, especially, it should have the attachment on that screen, but they should also be getting an email that
Email.
says, yes, this was successfully submitted. And there's actually, I don't know if you saw it because we were going pretty quickly, but at the bottom of the screen, when you click submit, it actually flashes up confirmation email successfully sent.
Great. That's perfect. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay,
Any other
we'll stop
questions?
the recording.
Oh, sorry.